What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Big Roots Podcast. I'm your host, John DeLaurier. Today, we have Randy Hurtado. Known Randy for quite a while, been in the roofing space. Randy, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, John.
We're going to talk about a lot of different things about why we want to help homeowners and help good contractors win. We all know there's a lot of competition. Competition can be good and healthy, but we also know that there can be some bad competition out there. So we want to separate the good from the bad by talking about the things we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about a few different things. Randy, tell us your story. A lot of people may have heard about you, but I think it's important for people to hear your background.
Sure. I don't know how far back you want to go, but I'll just keep it on the professional side. So I've worn many hats in my professional career. I have been a firefighter, fire captain. I have been in the Texas State Guard. I've been an IT security software specialist for many years, which includes, going into some of the largest companies in the nation, including the state, the Pentagon and the state capitals and what have you, and helping them figure out how to keep bad guys out of their network. I found myself in a very interesting position back in 2016. I was about 24 years into my IT security software career when I learned that the company that was my largest contract, that pretty much was my income, they were sold to private equity, and they no longer were going to be bringing on anyone that wasn't in-house. Like I was at the time, I was a contractor for them. I started out as an employee, but when I moved from California in '05 to Texas, they were not incorporated in Texas, so I had to move to 1099 and become a contractor. And that wasn't part of the deal. So I found myself in a unique position where I needed to change careers. And I thought I could do one or two things. I can go to LinkedIn. I felt like I could probably land on my feet fairly quickly in the IT security space. I knew all my competitors. I'm pretty certain that many of them would have brought me on. They knew that I was a leader within our company but I also was, my office was right next door to this roofing company called DT Roofing. And DT Roofing was, at the time, about a $1.5 million residential roofing company that had been in business since 2009. My now partner, Derek Tanner, the DT, he understood construction, he understood roofing, but where he struggled with, and he'd tell you this if he was on the call, was the business side of things, the sales, the marketing, those type of items. And so I would go to lunch with him while I was still doing my day job, and he'd bring up various issues that he was having, and I'd give him some suggestions like, hey, have you considered this? Have you tried this? And he'd try those things, and some of those things would work. And so, what else you got? And I'm like, well, I can't really offer anything else without actually doing the job, because my mom had 4 boys. 3 of them were in construction, and one of them was a computer nerd. You could tell which one I was, at least then. And so I started selling for him on nights and weekends to try to learn the craft, to learn the industry, so that it was coming purely from a position of helping. Yes, I was making money selling, but I made plenty of money in my IT security software gig, so I really didn't need the money. It was more about helping a friend, and I was interested in it. Well, that actually worked out really well for me, because when private equity came and pulled the rug out from under me and I no longer had a job, I was able to start working for Derek as a salesman. And it quickly turned in from being just a salesman to being the leader of the sales team to then running operations for the company. And after a few years of doing that, we went from this company that could never breach $2 million to being a $5.7 million company at the time. And that's when I asked for equity in the company. I basically said, listen, I'm not going to do this to my family again. I've already lost one job and didn't know what I was going to do, and I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to help somebody build a company and then be out looking for a job. So he agreed, and it's been a great journey since 2016. We've not only increased our revenue up to $30 million in revenue last year for our residential roofing company, but we've started a commercial roofing company that's doing extremely well. We started a construction company that builds homes, does remodels, additions, outdoor experiences. We have a garage door and service company and a gutter company. They all feed off of each other, but then they also are all individual companies that have their own customer base as well.
Here's how roofers make it home for dinner every single night without losing a single sale, even when they're one-man shows. Automate your communication with ProLine, the only communication-first CRM for roofers. Because when you fix your communication, you'll sell more jobs. Your weekends will smell more like sunscreen and backyard barbecues than that crappy gas station coffee. And all you got to do is ask these roofers.
Where we had about 200% growth, and I attribute that to incorporating ProLine.
But just with one automation, I was able to get 25 Google reviews.
It's been absolutely insane how quickly we were able to grow.
Now, ProLine's not going to win the beauty pageant, but it will save your Saturday. Now, back to the show.
Which, by the way, if you're planning to offer a lot of services and do them all well, my suggestion is definitely to break them into separate companies. It'll not only help you realize if they are actually profitable companies, but maybe some of your competitors will do business with those other companies. Wink, wink. I have roofing companies locally that we compete in the roofing world, but they buy their garage doors from me, as an example. It's also great when you're trying to go for overhead and profit in the insurance world, because when you have separate companies, those companies are giving bids to the main company, and now they get paid, and DT Roofing gets the overhead and profit. So not to get too far off of.
It's great advice, though. People do not
Yeah.
understand that complexity. That generally you need to be niche down. But if you
Yes.
are going to do multiple different things, I love that, because people don't realize the importance of the differentiator of actually separating it all out. So
Yes.
that the first thing you said is it actually profitable? You can actually see it much more clearly from the book's perspective. But very good advice.
Yeah, and also you can become a master of none in the mind of the consumer if you are DT roof. And I actually spoke about this at the Roofing Pastas conference a few years back, where DT roofing, gutters, construction, fried chicken, and oil change. It's like, what's this guy known for? No one's buying their fried chicken from that guy because he doesn't have an identity. And so if you're going to try to do all those things, then go at it individually, dominate those areas, and have fun with it. So we've continued to grow. Part of that journey was back in 2019, our company joined what was called the Good Contractors list. And that was the roofing company at the time that we joined the Good Contractors list. And at the time, the concept was, and it still is, that the Good Contractors list only finds contractors that they have vetted to their standards. And if they meet those standards, they're added to the list. And every single job that they do is backed by a guarantee, a monetary guarantee. At the time when I joined, it was only a $10,000 guarantee, but inflation has forced the hand to increase it to $25,000 per job that contractor does. So since 2011, the Good Contractors list has actually backed more than $5 billion worth of jobs just in the DFW market. So fast forward a couple of years, I approached the founder of the Good Contractors list, who is at the time only a DFW-based company. And I say, John, you need to take this nationwide. This problem exists everywhere, and we've had a great experience with it. Our customers really resonate with the messaging of having that guarantee from a third party. And he just wasn't, at the time, sold on the fact. He couldn't even imagine what it would look like to take this solution nationwide when he had spent 15 years building it in the DFW market. Right around that time, Dmitry Lipinski, obviously with now Directorii, announced that he was starting Directorii, and explained exactly what Directorii was. And I actually remember posting on there saying, "Oh, like the Good Contractors list," because I was very familiar with the concept. I had been using it in my own company and knew about the Good Contractors list locally. He had mentioned he'd never heard of it before, and of course, yeah, that's fine. But it was the identical model of what the Good Contractors list was. So I was on board right away because, one, he was willing to go nationwide with it. And I already understood the concept. We were using it successfully within our company. I figured I'll just stack it. I'll use the benefits of people locally knowing the Good Contractors list, and then stack Directorii with the guarantee that Good Contractors was giving, and it'll sound even better. I have two companies that are backing our every job we do. And that moved along for several years. I think Dimitri can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I have registered the most jobs in the nation with Directorii at $49 million worth of jobs. And we were just chugging along. Well, fast forward about 2 months ago, I was approached by John Stuart Hill of the Good Contractors List. He actually lives in my community, and he came by the office, just dropped in out of the blue. Said, "Hey, Randy, there's someone up in the front to see you." And I go, "John, what's up?" So he brings me in my office. He goes, "Hey, I just want to let you know that we have decided to go ahead and go nationwide, and we brought on a CEO who has experience in this world, and man, we'd love you to come on board and be the COO for the company and take it nationwide. We love what we've seen you guys do at DT here locally. We know that you are a huge fan of the concept, and you tried to get me to do this 5 years ago. So I know that you believe in what we're trying to do." And for us, it was just me and my wife. We prayed about it, and it was just a better decision for me and for what I was hoping to do. It covers all trades, which, obviously we can get into the differences between the two, and so, yeah, we decided to go ahead and pivot. And I wasn't on board, I wasn't on staff or anything with Directory. I was just an investor, and on the advisory board. And so I just called Dimitri up before I announced it and just let him know, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead and, go after this." He encouraged it. He said, "Man, I wish you luck." And I appreciated that. And that's where we're at. And since launching it about 3 weeks ago, maybe under a month ago, we're now in 16, 17 more states than we were 3 weeks ago, and it's growing
Crazy.
every day. Yeah, it's growing every day. Obviously, I'm talking to all the roofers that I know because that's the industry that I'm in. But our guys are talking to all the trades because we cover all of them.
Yep.
So
That's awesome. That's amazing. It's a great story. I'm glad that I think people need to know that. Need to know that you have been a fan of this for a long time. This whole concept. I was a directory contractor before I sold my business. I really support the concept. I think that it was a very good thing for our business. We did get leads. We did stand out. We had some crazy good sales that were already sold before we even got to the house because of directory. So
right.
the concept definitely is there. I'm curious because I don't really know the difference. I know basically from what you've said online and what you just said now. So let's talk about some differences between the Good Contractor and Directory and what that may look like for contractors out there.
Sure. So I like how you're putting the generic contractors out there, because I know primarily the people that might watch this are roofers. But so at the surface level, Directory and Good Contractors looks very similar. I would say some of the key differentiators are going to be one, the amount of time in this space for the Good Contractors list compared to Directory. We've been at it for 15 years. The DFW market is very well established. Homeowners, many of them go to the Good Contractors list whenever they want to find any contractor of any trade, and that's going to also be a huge differentiator. We spent 15 years building this model out, trying different things, what have you, to get it to a perfect solution. I call it like the 15 year proof of concept. And now it's ready to go nationwide. So it's like a blueprint that now we can take it into every market and just help homeowners stop hiring the wrong contractors and be guaranteed and have no risk. So that would be one of the differentiators. Right now, Directory is, as of this recording, primary contractors are roofers. And I know that my understanding is that the ultimate goal is to increase that to all the other trades, but it takes a long time to do. I mean, you almost have to have a focus on those individual trades to get in front of them to let them even know that it exists. And so that's going to be a work in progress, I'm sure, for Dimitri. I'm not going to speak for his own business, but I'm sure that's his ultimate goal. But that's going to be one of the differences. And that's a vast difference when you consider that the reason why the Good Contractors list has been so successful in DFW is because of the cross-pollination of contractors. With the Good Contractors list, when a roofer registers their customer's job, which, by the way, we don't charge anything for those jobs. There's a fixed fee that contractors pay every month, and that's it. There's no percentages at all charged, even when they do get a lead from us. It's their lead 100%. But when the roofer registers their customer's job for the $25,000 guarantee, they are introducing that homeowner to the Good Contractors list website, right? Well, when that homeowner now knows that they know where to go when they need a contractor and they need a plumber. Well, now that plumber benefits from that roofer's customer. So that's where that cross pollination comes in. When you have 50 trades in there and everybody's feeding their customers into the same database, it becomes a movement. It becomes a collective authority where the customer just knows if I need anything, if I need a flooring company, an HVAC company, an electrician, a landscaper, a tree trimmer, remodeler, you can go to the good contractors list, go to your zip, and whatever that category is, you're going to have contractors that will serve your needs. And if they don't do exactly what their contract states, we will come in behind them first to work with them to make sure they're going to do what they said they're going to do. If they don't, they're off the list, and we go in and we take care of what we're supposed to do. And that's worked out very well for 15 years. As I mentioned on the onset, we've covered more than $5 billion worth of jobs in the 15 years. And we've done a very good job choosing the right contractors because our claims are drastically low comparatively. And so it just creates a cross-pollination. So that's probably where I would say the biggest difference is you're not going to have that cross-pollination with just roofers on the list. So as he grows that solution, if he chooses to go that route with all of the other trades, that will benefit him. But in the meantime, that would be a big difference between our two companies. And as we go into, to be fair, as we go into the nation, we don't have all of those trades established in the new markets yet, but we have the blueprint to replicate. So we're not having to figure this out as we go along. We could take that blueprint and go in and set it up everywhere. So I think that's the reason why we have the confidence of the contractors that have signed up. And it's a lot cheaper to sign up outside of DFW because they realize they're not right away going to get a ton of leads. What you're signing up for is the trust factor, the reputation, the guarantee that a third party. Because look, John, when you were in roofing sales and you're sitting in front of the customer, did you ever say, "Hi, my name is John. I'm with this roofing company, and we're a mediocre roofer. We'll answer the phone most of the time. You should see our 3-star reviews." Like, no, you're going to talk about everything that's good about you. And guess what? The other two guys that the customer's talking to is going to say the same thing about themselves. Everybody has everything great to say about themselves. But when a third party comes in and says everything they said, we're going to back with our money. You're not going to get that from the Better Business Bureau. You're not going to get that from any other credential that they may have up on their website. They're all going to tell you, "I'm sorry they walked off with $8,000. There's nothing we can do about it." With us, we're going to say, "We're sorry that happened to you. Let's make it right."
Yep. 100%.
And homeowners love that.
They do. They want peace of mind. They want to make a good decision. They want to see real value. I love all that. That's really, really helpful. Makes sense about the cross-pollination of different contractors. That even makes me think of like our ProLine customers because, yes, while we do target roofing contractors, we have a lot of exterior contractors. And if you have a siding contractor, like in my roofing business, we had certified partners that we would recommend to people. Well, if that's actually happening on a platform that really brings in leads, I can see how that's super valuable for every single one of those trades.
Yeah.
Because they're like, "Oh, this is amazing. I want to be part of this because I'm also getting," and if you've established a market to understand like this is a trusted place. This is not next door or your Facebook group. This is a place that, like you said, they vet everyone there. It's just the people in that market understand that you can trust. You don't have to just trust a random person tagging a friend on there,
right?
Or whatever.
And me as a roofing company, if I do lose to another good contractor, it doesn't sting as much as if I lose to the guy who was a clown that promised the customer the world, is probably going to cut corners because he couldn't really fulfill the world without doing so, covering deductibles. If a homeowner is hiring from the good contractors list, they have zero. They can literally cover their eyes and just select. And so at that point, it just becomes a personality contest. Or maybe those accolades that you have are literally the deciding factor at that point. If it's between me and John and we're both on the good contractors list and I have over 1,000 5-star reviews and John has 300 and his is a 4.9 and mine's a 5, that's probably going to put the customer over. No, I'm not going to risk either way, but this guy has better, ratings, so I'm going to go with him. But what we don't want to lose against is that knucklehead who thought that, it held yesterday. I have a roofing company today, and I'm gonna go out there and screw a bunch of customers. And now he's on the news with,
Behind the bars.
at the exactly, And so contractors just want to know that if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose to another good guy. And so we even encourage our contractors to explain to customers when they're explaining the good contractors list guarantee that, listen, even if you don't go with us, make sure you hire from the list because there's no reason to take the risk.
Yeah, and we've said that many times where people would find us and we would be on Directory and they'd be like, look, we don't service that market, but you need to hire this company. They're on Directory. It's the same exact concept. Like,
yeah,
you have to, I totally agree with you about losing to somebody else on the same platform that's been vetted the same way.
I also want to be very clear too. You don't hear people say this in competing industries often. I want Dimitri and Directory to be successful because anytime you have a competing solution in a marketplace, it legitimizes the service.
100%.
Nobody wants a single shingle manufacturer out there. There's going to be personality conflict, differences between the guy that is hell-bent for Owens Corning, we're Owens Corning, and the guy that's a GAF guy, right? And so, and at the same time, I was literally an example of somebody who would stack it. I would literally say, we are on the good contractors list and Directory. So you have up to this much on every single job that you can, that you're guaranteed. And that would even put it even moreover. Like all these companies are guaranteeing this company. And so it just further legitimized. And so I have, I absolutely want to see Dimitri, and I've expressed this to him, especially since since I departed from using, being their biggest customer. But it does have a stack capability too. I've signed several Directory customers since we came on. I'm only selling right now because I know the roofing industry. My guys, my sales team, they're literally handling the other 49 trades. And I'm talking to all my roofing guys because I speak their language. They know me already for the most part, and I'm trusted. So they know I'm not going to do them wrong. They know well before I was representing this. The Randy that you're talking to today is the same Randy they're going to look on YouTube and see me in an interview talking about something else that I'm passionate about. I love to see good guys win. I've said that on every single podcast I've ever done, whether it's Tim Brown, whether it's Ty Backer. I love to see good guys win. If I lose against a good guy locally, good. There are 70,000 people in this community. I did 1,500 roofs last year. I can't serve them all. I want a good guy to win too, another good guy to win. So
100%. It's so true. I love the mentality. Again, the whole purpose of this whole concept is having the good guys win, having the good contractors win, but we also want homeowners to have a good place to find the good contractors because we are in our little world, a little bubble of like marketing, sales. We're doing all these things or operations, and we're trying to build our business, but we're thinking about roofing or whatever contractor we are every single day, and so we think that homeowners also think about our company every single day. So having a place that helps homeowners, that was just my driving force is like, how can I help the next homeowner?
That's it.
And if you're on platforms like Good Contractor, like you're going to be a place where they can find you. You have
That's
to,
right.
You have to understand that you can be great at sales. You can be great at actually installing a roof and know exact how to install, flashing the perfect way, valleys, all the things.
They have to find you first.
They have to find you first. They
That's
have
right.
to know where you're at, and they have to actually find you in a good place.
And having the guarantee, I like to tell our clients, it just gives you an unfair advantage. And I say unfair because it's unfair because the other two guys may not be on the list. And so when they represent all of the stuff that we all expect everybody to do, and then you come in, do the exact same thing, but then you also add that you're backed, it's a no-brainer. When I gave this analogy earlier. I was talking to somebody that I onboarded, and I said, so I did 30 million in revenue last year. I said, put your consumer hat on right now. I said, if you have, and it's an HVAC company, and you have 3 HVAC companies that have delivered the bid, but the third guy shows up, he gives you all the same spiel. He's within $300 or $400 of the other two guys. But then he says, and just keep in mind that we're on the good contractors list. What that means for you is that we have been vetted by a third party company and vetted so well that every single job, including the one we're talking about today, is backed by a $25,000 third party guarantee. Nothing you have to pay for, ma'am. It's already part of working with us because we're on the list. I said, How much would that impact your buy decision? And he said, oh, yeah, absolutely. I said, so let's say last year only 10% of my customers actually cared about that messaging that all 14 of my sales guys gave. That's still $3 million. I said, and we all know we're being very conservative on that 10% because homeowners, one, we know they make decisions off of emotions oftentimes, and then being risk adverse, right? I remove both of those because I feel good that I hired a contractor that's already been pre-vetted, and I have no risk because there's a $25,000 guarantee on this job. And there's going to be the contractor out there, and regardless of whether it's Directory or the Good Contractors list, that says, "Well, what happens if the job is more than $25,000 or $30,000?" The science that we've studied internally is that when jobs go awry and a contractor doesn't do the right thing, it's often not the entire job. It's an aspect of the job, right? And so, we've had, fortunately, we've had very few claims over the years, but those that we've had, we've never exceeded $25,000, ever. And that includes customers that have 300 and something $1,000 remodels, concrete project pools. We've never exceeded it because it's always like, oh, I don't like how the siding turned out on the front. And I was like, yeah, we used our guy that was cross-eyed and brand new when we did the front of the house. But I can't afford to fix that. Okay, well, then we're going to come in and hire somebody to fix that. And, we're going to pay them for it. In fact, I use siding as an example. I think that was one of Dimitri's original first claims was a siding contractor who did it wrong and he made it right. So plenty of room in this area, in this space for both of us. I just think it's going to be ultimately the contractor's ability to either see it as a stackable solution or, if they see the bigger picture on how they'll be able to benefit from the cross-pollination as we grow this nationwide, or if they're just looking for a guarantee only, and then it doesn't matter about the cross-pollination, well, then either one works,
You alluded to the pricing differences really quick. Can you just review those? Like, how does it differentiate between the way you guys price? If you're a contractor listening to this, watching this, and you're like, I want to be part of a Good Contractor list, what does that look like?
So I will start by saying if you are outside the DFW market, and I established that because as I mentioned early on, we're already well established there. So there's leads coming in. Homeowners are going to the list to find their contractors. So leads are coming in. Last year, I had $200,000 worth of leads that came from the Good Contractors list in my personal business. As it compared to the total amount, not a whole lot, but that's still $200,000. I did not pay anything close to that to be on the list, though I'm paying $1,100 a month. Why? Well, because I'm in the roofing category, which is a higher risk, and I own the zips that I own. And so I'm at the top of that zip, the recommended contractor at the top of that zip. So I'm paying $1,100 a month. Everyone else outside of the DFW market, they're paying $250 a month. Why? Well, because one, they're not going to get all the leads right away. Obviously, as you start it up, you have to build the critical mass in every market. And then eventually leads start coming in when the homeowners know about the service. And so they're using literally the guarantee to, and that's it. There's no percentages of jobs. If you do get a job from us, we don't take any percentages of it, whether it's any percent at all. And every single one of your jobs is backed with that. So basically what I like telling roofers is for the equivalent of a small roof repair a month, you're on the Good Contractors list, and every job that you sell that month can be, the guarantee can be used against. For gutter companies, for 25 linear foot of gutters a month, it's like I've established like each category. It's like for a service call in HVAC, less than a service call, so it's relatively inexpensive when you consider the value back that you get from it. There's not going to be a company out there that if they follow our standard exactly the way, for example, DT Roofing does, where we have it on our website. It's very well explained and prominently displayed. It's on our social media. It's not uncommon that you'll hear me or one of my guys go, they'll have whatever the messaging in and says, and remember, every job that DT Roofing does is backed by the Good Contractors list with a $25,000 guarantee. So you have zero risk working with us. If you are working that into your messaging, it's part of your identity as a contractor. You will naturally get leads coming in anyhow because people want to work with that company that has the guarantee. And make sure it's part of your marketing or your sales message. When you're collaborating with a customer, you're at that tabletop, that needs to be in your sales folder so you can go over why you're different. It's a three-way contract, essentially. You're agreeing that that the good contractors list is going to be a mediator between any issues that you have. And sometimes the customer is wrong. In fact, a lot of the times the customer is wrong. Have a situation where a customer doesn't like the color that the house was painted. Well, let's look at the contract. It has a Sherwin-Williams SW3542. Let me see the paint can. SW3542. Ma'am, they put the exact color you asked for. If you didn't do research ahead of time to see what that color looks like on a house and you looked at a color swath at Home Depot, that's not their fault. They did what they were supposed to do. And so we're on the side of the contractor at that point. But if you're a roofer who felted a house with paper felt when the contract clearly says synthetic felt, and the customer calls you out on it, and then they call us and we look at the contract and it says synthetic felt, and the homeowner even explained to you that the reason why they wanted synthetic felt is because the last roof they had, the shingles blew off and tore the paper with it and exposed the decking. So they wanted to make sure that the underlayment that was used wouldn't tear off. And you say, I'm sorry, I can't afford to rip that whole roof off and redo it under my cost. Okay, well, then we're going to hire another roofer to do it, and you're off the list because you're not running your business in a manner that is conducive of somebody who's taking their business seriously. Because I'll tell you, I've done it. I remember a customer who signed the contract with teak as the color. 2 weeks before we're going to do the roof, he calls me while I'm driving and says, Randy, my wife changed it to black because she's going to paint the house eventually and wants a neutral color on top. No problem. I'll fix it on the contract. Randy forgot. We get to install day, halfway of the roof being done. Customer pulls in his driveway and says, we have a problem. Yeah, this was supposed to be black. You're right. It was supposed to be black. Jose, quick, stop that, start tearing it off. ABC sent the right material out. We made it right.
Yep.
Why? Because we're financially capable of doing it. We're running this like a business. And so these are things that we look at when we're vetting our contractors is not only a criminal background, but we're also doing a financial background. Make sure they're not the type of company that's starting businesses and crashing them into the ground with customers all off in the wake and then starting up new companies. We're not looking at your financials. We're not looking at your bank account, but we are looking to make sure that you are somebody that's going to be here long term. And so, yeah, our contractors benefit from all of that.
I love that. So everybody's excited about Good Contractors List. They're watching it. What's the next step for them?
So if you have any questions whatsoever, one, if you're connected with me on Facebook, Randy Martin Hurtado, Hurtado with the blue check box, go ahead and reach out to me, friend me. I would love to have a conversation. You can reach me on my personal cell phone, and I know I will give this out. I do it all the time. People go, you are crazy, but I have software that blocks spam. So 254-396-0151, or you can email me, randy@goodlistmail.com. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And look, we're taking this nationwide. This is a movement. Homeowners in America are sick and tired of turning on the news and seeing another contractor who took advantage of somebody. And this is the solution to that. There's no more going to other websites out there where they sell you leads and they don't know who you're sending to. They don't know who they're sending to a homeowner's house. The contractor is chosen by the homeowner on the Good Contractors List. They get a click on their profile, go to their website if they want to, learn anything they want to know about them, and then say, you know what, this company has a good feel, a good fit. I'm going to call them. Boom. That lead's yours.
Love it.
And so.
Love it. Well, Randy, thanks for coming on today. I think that people need to understand that this is the way, the movement. I love the way you put that. This is a movement. You need to get on board. Like you're going to get left behind because there'll be a group of people who decide to make this a priority, and those contractors will succeed. In a world where there's a lot of misinformation all over social media and all these other websites, exactly to your point, where you can buy leads and the contractors lose and the homeowners lose on those sites. And on a site like yours, everybody wins. The good contractors win and the homeowners win as well. So again, reach out to Randy. I think this is a fantastic thing. And I totally agree. There is enough room for Directory and you guys to actually thrive together because it will be proof of concept. You've already done it for 15 years. You know that it works. Going nationwide and replicating that is a massive, massive deal. So thanks again for coming on, Randy. And everybody, thanks for watching the Big Roofs podcast.